What's up, everyone? Welcome back, or welcome to the first official episode of the Tactical Minds podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a Q&A, getting to know me, and mainly just what this podcast is really going to be all about, what you can expect from it. Um, Hopefully, somewhere in between that there's something that pops out to you that you can relate to. I do have my two boys in here with me, Harley and Apollo, which they are my pride and joy. So you may hear them from time to time. And they are dogs. They're not kids. Just to clarify. So just get that out of the way. Um, First we're gonna start off a little bit with about me. 25. I was born and raised in Roswell, New Mexico. I am I guess you could say the middle child of six siblings. My life growing up was definitely wasn't the hardest, but after my parents got divorced when I was about 8 years old, I had to grow up really fast, and it was it was no one's fault. The circumstances were just what they were, and my parents did the best that they could with what they had. Um, I see that now, so I my childhood was pretty good. Um, Aside from that, I was always a people pleaser. I always wanted to please everyone around me. I still love to make people laugh. As a kid, I was more of the jokester. I would do anything if it meant jumping off a bunk bed to make somebody laugh or do something stupid. I would always do it, and some people would still say that I still do that from time to time. Um, I love to make those around me happy. I love to upbring people around me, even if I'm in a very dark spot. I'm. It's probably not a good idea for you to do, but I'm very good at hiding it. Um, and if that just makes people happy, then that makes me happy. Um, my biggest passion, again, I'd say my biggest passion is just to help people. I've always did everything that I could with the resources that I had to help people out around me, whether I knew you or I didn't. Um, yeah, I joined the volunteer fire department at 16, just because I wanted to help people. But putting fires out was fun to me, Like I loved the rush of running into a burning building, when a lot of people question it, but I don't know, like I was just one of those people that just loved it. I loved the adrenaline. Um, my body's not really made for it now. Ever since I got out of the military, I just have a lot of problems. I have claustrophobia. It's one of them now. Why, I don't know. But that's why we're here. We're here to help each other out. Um, and my decision making process is just not what it used to be. I will be the first to admit I crumble under pressure. Um, and I get very overwhelmed really easily, and I either shut down or things go into very slow motion for me, and then I shut down. So yeah, that's a big thing that I'm working through right now. Um, what I wanted to be growing up, My dad was in the Air Force. He was a, believe, a military police officer. I know for sure he was a canine handler. So seeing his pictures growing up, I always wanted to follow in his footsteps in some way because I saw just how much of a badass he was in my eyes. I looked up to him. I still do. I still do. But I looked up with him with such admiration. And I just wanted to be as strong as he was and do everything that he did. Um, and I feel like I accomplished that to some degree. My mom, she is a occupational therapist. She has been for 20 years, about as long as I've been alive. And she, you know, she's the best mother that God equipped her to be. And I love her for it. And she always did anything and everything that she could for me. Whether that was racking up debt on her credit cards to buy me an Xbox or whatever, silly things that kids just don't understand. She sacrificed a lot. Both of my parents did. And I'm very, very grateful for them. Um, me and my fiance have been together for 10 years next year. Um, we met in high school. Um, we were high school sweethearts. We, I didn't really talk to her about joining the military at all. I just sort of thought that would be a good thing for us, which in turn it was, but it had its flaws in it. So, but we made it, came out stronger than ever on the other side. We've been through hell and back. I will say that, and we will dive in a deeper about all of that, and hopefully she can come on here and tell her perspective of everything, her side of the stories, and just to give another side of the audience that I hope to gain a perspective of whether that be high school of relationships in the military, um, and unfortunately loving someone that in the end is dealing with substance abuse issues, um, and that's one thing that I'll never be able to be able to tell you guys, something that she unfortunately will only be able to tell because she's been there, she's done it, she's lived it, she's put up with it, and she's an angel, and I love her to death. And we've never been better. Now, like I said, we have two very beautiful dogs. They're a handful, I will say, but I love them to death. I spend just about every hour of every day with them. Um, my family, I'm not as close as I once was with my family. I never really have been. Um, I'm very close with my grandma. Um, and I lost my grandpa on my dad's side at around 7 years old. So, that was a blessing in disguise, I guess, because me and him were very close. But as I still have those memories, I don't have the memory of losing him, which I thank God for every day, because I did just lose my grandpa on my mom's side that I was very close with, that I took care of, that I checked on pretty much every day, um, the months leading up to his death. So, that's been really hard on me, but we're making it through, and that'll be a big thing that we talk about as well as death. Um, yeah, I'm not very close with a lot of my family. I'm close with I wouldn't even say a handful of my siblings. I'm close with one sibling, really. Out of the six siblings that I have, they're just off doing life, they're off doing their own thing. We don't talk much, which is hopefully can change, but I am close with one and I do love her a lot. She's been there for me throughout it all. She's been there and put my ass in check really whenever my substance abuse was at its worst, and she was one one of the people that saw me at my worst. Um, you know, so I am indebted to her for that as well. Uh, some things I like to do, hobbies, I guess you could say. Uh, Sort of self-taught myself leather work. It was a good therapy for me. It was something different, something I never envisioned myself doing, which I wouldn't say I'm the best at, but I pretty good, not tooting my own horn. Um, I love to work out. I work out every day, every morning. You know, I should have a six pack by now, but I love food way too much. I love food more than I love working out, which it balances itself out, which it's a win-win situation. Another hobby that I've picked up over the year is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, it's been a challenge overcoming physical injuries that I have that are permanent and will never go away, and still trying to give my all to Jiu-Jitsu. Um, but what are we gonna do? We're gonna lay down and die, or are we gonna fight through it? You know, as long as we got ibuprofen and some water, as the military would say, we'll be fine. We'll make it through it. Um, on to the next things. My personality. This is a question that I get a lot, and how it's changed over the years. It's something we never really think about. We don't think about how our personality has changed a lot, because we live, we go through every day of our life, not thinking about it. Um, I've always been more of an introvert, I would say. I was always the quiet one. I still am. I open up a little bit more now. Once I feel safe in I guess, the area that I'm in. I am I care deeply for people, and I always want everyone to feel happiness and joy, going back to um, the beginning of the video. Um, yeah, that's what can I expect in my future? Uh, I am getting married, so that's very exciting. Getting married in November of this year, so I'm very excited for that. Um, I get I get emotional thinking about it. Like I always tell my fiance, like, man, I'm gonna be crying more than you will, and it's probably true. I'm more of the emotional one in the relationship. She's hard headed. If she's crying, then it's something serious. Unless I hurt her feelings or something, then she cries, and then yeah, it's a whole mess. Um, and then quickly before we get to some questions, I'm gonna go over some topics that we'll be covering throughout however long it takes. these won't be the only topics that we talk about, but they will for sure be the main ones that I hope to get to you guys. Um, which again is the military and it's how it has affected me. The military is. I had such high aspirations for the beginning when I joined. Like I had such high aspirations that I was going to go to air assault school, maybe airborne. Um, Believe it or not, I wanted to be a drill sergeant as much as everyone says that they hate it. And I never got to do that stuff because of the places that the place that I went to when I got back home from deployment. Um, so I never truly reached my full potential in the military that I believe. So that definitely haunts me. You know, asking, admitting for admitting that I had a problem and asking for help, and choosing to ignore my platoon sergeant's word, which was just tough it out. Like keep going. Like if I was you, just keep going. You're an infantryman. Act like one. And like I knew if I and I tried to do it. I tried to tough it out for a couple of days, but I knew like if I kept going, like I was going down a very dark path, and I was going to end it all. But before I did, I allowed myself to accept that I needed help, and so that is when I got the most help that the military had to offer. Um, which there are some good things that happened in the military. I will say there was more bad things that happened than good, but overall, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and we can't live in the what ifs, because the more we do that, the more we're just wasting our time, you know, thinking about things that will never be. Um, Another topic is PTSD, anxiety, depression, anything along those lines. I've been there and I've done it. I've been through everything. I'm I've been on medication since I asked for help in the military in uh November, December of 2019. I've been through probably like 20 different medications, and too long of a list for me to name off right now. But yeah, PTSD is a very fundamental thing to grasp. It just reboots your brain, and it can change completely who you are and how you think and how you work and how you look. Really, anxiety. I have, you know, as hard as it is to admit sometimes, I do have very bad anxiety, and sometimes it does show. I'm that person that is very fidgety. Like my guard is up every single day when I leave the house. Like I'm just scanning 110% of the time until I get back home. And even then, like I hear a strange noise or a loud noise, and man, like the mind's eye is just so like crippling that like I will shake and I will not be able to function for at least like 10 minutes after, until I start to grasp and tell myself that we are not, nothing is going to get us, we are fine. And even if something does get us, like, motherfucker, you've learned how to fight. You know how to fight, you have freaking guns everywhere, like it's definitely going to be a challenge for the rest of my life for sure. But that is a challenge that I'm willing to accept, and that is a challenge that I did accept, um, 6 years ago. Depression, I have nothing to be sad about. I have everything to be sad about, but I have nothing to be sad about. I have the best, strongest relationship that anyone could ask for. I have the best fiance that anyone could ever ask for. My dogs, they put a smile on my face every day, even when they're being obnoxious. I have people that care about me, but somewhere deep inside, like, it's just still not enough. And that's where purpose comes into play. Is I have no purpose. Like, I find myself thinking at least twice a day, every day, like, this cannot be what I was put on this earth to be. you know my purpose couldn't have been already, it couldn't have been in the military. Like, if so, then why did God keep me here? Why am I still struggling to find a purpose? Why am I still just existing rather than living? And I hope through this that we can both find an answer. I can find an answer for myself, and whoever needs to hear this can find an answer for themselves as well. Um, a big, huge topic that is very, very emotional for me is substance abuse. I I will also again be the first to admit I have um a very I never believed when the doctors told me that substance abuse is genetic. Like, man, you're full of shit. But as far back as I can remember, my grandpa that just died, he was an alcoholic. My mom, she drinks. Both my parents drank when I was young, so I grew up thinking that just was normal, you know. Um and so I will be the first to admit I have a very addictive personality. I find one thing to nitpick at and I will fixate on that for the rest of my time until I stop worrying about it. And it will eat me alive until there's nothing to eat at anymore, really. Um I'm also a perfectionist in that sense of terms as well. Like, I if I do something, I have to do it right, or I'm scared shitless that I will do it wrong, and there will be repercussions for it, and that is due to a lot of trauma from the past, which we will dive into that as well. Trauma is a big thing. It's very hard to talk about. It's very hard to understand as well. Um, Substance abuse, though, is I substance abuse issues started. I would say I guess I can't even really say before my deployment, but before my deployment, there was one night where, I was 20 years old at the time. So, well, no, I was 19 at the time. And, I would have other people buy me whatever they could, and I would drink, just drink, drink, and drink. At that point, I would drink and have a good time. Um, and I didn't have a worry in the world. I was just getting plastered, And then once I came home, I had just turned 20 on the exact same day that we got home. Um, and I had once again gotten other people to buy me alcohol, whatever they could, whenever they could. And I would drink whatever. I would drink Fireball. I would drink. My thing at that time was Disaronno, which is pretty damn expensive and pretty damn fancy for a specialist or PFC, whatever I was in the infantry at that time. But I would go through a full bottle of Disaronno in about 2 days, and I would get fucking hammered. And I was in such a bad spot that I would get so drunk, and I would cut myself, to, I guess, feel pain, because at that time I did not feel a thing. So I had cut myself to feel something. And when I got home out of the military, that's when my substance abuse really picked up. I had turned 21 around that time. So I was able to buy my own whenever I wanted, however much I wanted. So that was very dangerous at the time, but I didn't realize I had a problem. So, um, that whole cycle just kept going and going for a couple of years. And eventually I went to like a 30 pack of Michelob, Coors Light, um, anything that was in stock, because it was during right towards the end of COVID, I guess. So I would just get whatever I could get my hands on, and I would be going through 30 pack every other day. I would go back to the gas station, come back home, get another 30 pack, drink that, and then it would just repeat. It would repeat, and I would be, man, I would drink. Some days I would drink so much that I would fall asleep playing video games, sitting up, and my head would just be back, and there would be beer cans everywhere. All while, my fiance would go to bed. Little did I know that she was crying herself to sleep because she had to watch it, and that sits very deep with me now. And, but eventually, I wanted something stronger. I wanted something with less volume. So I eventually moved up to the handles of Jim Beam. I would go through that in about 2 to 3 days. And that's whenever my body really started to fail me. And I was starting to feel it physically, but it still wasn't enough for me to stop, So, uh, but aside from that, here we are now. Um, I am 136 days sober now, which it is good, it's a challenge. I still find myself wanting alcohol. When we go to the store, when I see a commercial, like I have to look away, like, because I can taste it in my mouth. Um, but I promised myself, I promised my fiance, and now I'm promising you guys that we are in it together. Whether you're starting off at day one or day 500, like we're in it together, and no nobody tells you how much of a challenge it is for the rest of your life to be sober. You always hear about, oh, like I just got sober. Nobody really says anything about having to keep up with that cycle every single day for the rest of your life. You know, um, so and as well on coming off of that, relationships. We'll talk a lot about relationships. I am no expert, but I have a few lessons that I could give you guys, so you don't have to go and learn them yourselves. Because man, I just about run out of all my luck with that because it has not been easy to get here. I will say that we've been through so much trial and error, you know. But God had other plans for us, more plans for us in the future, and I thank God for that because that woman right there is my whole world. And if my far troubles and stories can help you guys, just one person, you know, then that will be enough to show me that it wasn't all for nothing. Uh, Another thing we'll go over is infidelity. You know, every relationship usually goes through some sort of infidelity. Um, some are deeper than others. Some are. It's There's a whole tree of infidelity, and I don't I don't condone it anymore. Which any good person that loves that truly loves someone won't. But there's truly no excuse. Like if you're not happy, just leave. Simple as that. Um, Physical injuries. We'll go over physical injuries and how some go over the list of injuries that I have and somewhat of how I'm able to get through them. Like I said, like they are some pretty bad injuries. We're at the point now to where it's just sort of pain management. We've gone through everything that we can. I've taken just about every medication. See Hurley in the background. Uh, just the mindset of getting through those physical injuries, and how much it takes from you. You know, I never thought that being in pain every day, waking up in pain every day, having to do the TENS unit, an alpha scan, and stuff like that, how much it would wear and tear on your mind. Uh, like it's gotten to the point to where it does affect my mental health. It does make me depressed because I cannot do what I used to do. You know, I have to be very careful with what I do. Otherwise, I will be in pain for days, for weeks, and nothing can help it at all. But we will dive in a deeper about what those injuries are, common injuries that you will get in the military, specifically in the infantry, um, and hopefully on how to prevent them. Um, Last thing for now is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu falls under the categories of things that help me find a purpose so far. Um, I am certainly not the best white belt at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but what white belt is, I guess, Unless you're my fiance, then you're fucking great. She's she's beast. But no. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu has helped me so much in so many ways that I didn't even think it would. You know, it is hard on the body, but it has given me another purpose in my everyday life. Um, it gives me something to look forward to, something to work towards, something that I can grow in. And I have met I always say like I'm not here to meet friends. I'm here to train or whatever. But truthfully, I have met some of the best people in that damn gym. You know, um, like some people that I would probably never be friends with if we passed each other on the streets. But I guess rolling around, cuddling with other people just brings you guys closer. Um, I love animals. You know, I'll be the first to say that I love animals more than I do humans. If ASPCA was on fire next to a friggin', I don't know, a store filled with people was on fire as well, I'd probably run into the ASPCA or Humane Society, whatever building full with dogs first and get all the dogs out and then go help the humans. It's just, I'm sorry, but I have seen the worst of people and I have never been once judged by my dog. I mean, he does give me the side eye from time to time, but never once have I been up and left by my dog. Unless it's Apollo, then he don't care. He's looking for food. But yeah. Um, I just want this to be a safe space for all of us to communicate, to share stories, to ask questions. You know, I may be the one talking, but if you have an answer or a question or anything, like I want you guys to feel as if we have known each other for years. That is my main purpose in this, is to reach out to anyone. And I have said before, like, if this doesn't reach a million people, but it reaches one person that needs it the most, that is looking for an answer and maybe the worst time of their life, then that will be enough for me. You know, I'm not doing it for the views. I'm doing it for people that need it, because I was once that person that needed it and didn't have it. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone. And I don't want people to go through what I went through, because, like, there was just nights where I was just so defeated, um, and so alone. And I don't want people to feel alone. It hurts me when the military community feels like they can't talk to people, because none of us openly say, like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm dealing with this. So we constantly think that we're the only person feeling that, until one of us actually says something. You're like, holy shit, I've been feeling that way. Why haven't you said something sooner? Um, I just want to help one person. That'll be enough for me. So we're going to get into some questions right now. Just do a couple for the time length. Don't want to make it too long. Let's see. What do people misunderstand most about you? I think a lot of people misunderstand me for being. I give off a not caring vibe. Like I put on a show that I don't care. That I try and be tough, but I'm not. Like, if you need help, if I just met you on the street, I will help you. You know, if you don't fuck me over, I will do my very best to help you out. And probably like I'm just a lot of people think I'm again, I'm an asshole, but like I have, care so deeply. Like my fiance would say that I'm probably the most kind-hearted person, and that probably is true. I do care very much after being betrayed a lot throughout my life. Um, yeah, I just I want people to be happy. And if that means that I take on the whole world of depression and carry it on my shoulders, then I will do my best to do it. Let's see. What's the most embarrassing memory? I think the most embarrassing memory that I have to date is before I left, I drank like 11 shooters of Crown Apple. And we were in the club, and like, I was just obliterated. And I remember bits and pieces of it. So if there's some things don't match up, that's why. But I had ran into the men's bathroom and was thrown up in a urinal. And then next thing I know, I wake up on a damn couch in the club, and it's last call, whatever. They're kicking everyone out. And like, dude, you need to go. I'm like, what's happening? Like, I was messed up. I was trashed. Like, now I look back on it, that's pretty damn embarrassing. Um, yeah, that's pretty low to crash on a couch in the club where they're blaring music. Um, how do you want to be remembered? I already know that you know, I will not be the most famous person. I won't be, the whole world won't know my name, but I want to be remembered as caring. You know, I want to be remembered as the person that gave a fuck when nobody did. Um, yeah, I just, I want to be remembered as the caring, loving person, not the self-centered, wealthy person. Well, you can't take your money with you to heaven or hell, wherever you're going. I think we'll end it with one more question, with a very deep question, I guess. Um, what do I think was my biggest failure? My biggest failure, um, I would have to say, was not being the best partner that I could be. Um, Not too long ago, whenever I was dealing with the substance abuse issues, my biggest failure was not being there for the person that I loved the most. Um, and I think it's a miracle that she is still by my side because of it. Um, I I have a lot of failures in my life. Um, Probably more failures than accomplishments, but yeah, I my biggest failure was not being being there for her when she needed it the most, and being self-centered and caring about myself. Um, but I hold myself to a very high standard when it comes to the alcohol, and especially the alcohol and relationships. Um, and I hope whoever is dealing with that out there can reach out for help, But the only way you're going to get help and beat it is if you want to help yourself. If you want the help, if you want to get clean. I hope people will reach out. If not to me, to someone. It's not worth it. But with that being said, leave you guys off on a deep, depressing note. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The first episode Q&A slash welcome to the show. I hope you guys stick around. It's only going to get better from here. Like I said, I'm not the biggest tech person, so bear with me, please. I am doing my very best. If you guys have anything, any questions at all, maybe answers too, I don't know. Any questions at all, please feel free to comment them on the video, message me, and I would like to do a video of your guys' questions as well. I think that'd be very, very great. So keep an eye out for the next episode. I'm very eager to start getting videos out for you guys, and I hope that you guys will stick around, subscribe, like, whatever. I never thought I'd be that person to ask, but I am. It does help me out, and I want to help you guys out. All right? So, see you soon.